I used to believe every great love story ended in forever until I realized ours was already ending while I was still holding on. It started small, so small I almost convinced myself it was nothing. Late night phone vibrations she muted the second I shifted in bed, a sudden password on her phone after 8 years of never needing one, and that smell. Cologne that wasn't mine, lingering on her when she came home from work. But the moment that really lodged itself in my chest happened at dinner. She used to tell me everything, every office rumor, every stupid joke, every tiny frustration. But that night she stared at her plate like she was hearing someone else's voice in her head. "Long day?" I asked. She blinked, snapped out of whatever world she was in, and forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Just tired. Stop overthinking." Then her phone lit up next to her plate. A name I'd never seen before flashed for a second, and she flipped it face down so fast the fork slipped from her fingers. I laughed, trying to make it a joke. "Got a secret admirer?" She didn't laugh. She grabbed her phone, stood up, and walked out of the room without answering. For the first time in our marriage, I felt like a stranger sitting at my own table, and in my gut, some instinct I couldn't ignore whispered, "She's hiding something." But I didn't know then that the truth wasn't just a secret. It was a betrayal so deep it would destroy the person I thought I married. After that dinner, the shift in her was undeniable. She started guarding her phone like it was a newborn. Showers got longer. Work projects suddenly needed weekends. And every time I reached for her, her hand, her waist, even just a kiss, she flinched like affection was a burden. One night around 11:40 p.m., she said she was going out for ice cream. It was January, snow on the ground. I didn't argue, just nodded, but something in me twisted. An hour passed, then 2. When she finally walked through the door, cheeks red from the cold, I asked gently, "Which store is even open this late?" She didn't miss a beat. "Stop interrogating me. You're paranoid. I'm allowed to leave the house." Paranoid. That word stung more than I expected. The next morning I decided to surprise her at work, bring lunch, maybe reconnect like we used to. Her coworkers looked confused when I asked for her. "She didn't come in today," one of them said. "She said she was with you." My heartbeat kicked into something ugly. I drove home faster than I should have. The house was quiet. Her car was in the driveway, but she wasn't answering her phone. I found her upstairs, freshly out of the shower, humming to herself. "Oh, you're home early," she said casually when she saw me. "I went to your office." Her expression didn't change. No panic, no guilt, just a cold, calculated smile. "You're acting crazy. Seriously, you need help." Then she walked past me like I was the problem. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that right before she stepped out of the bathroom, I saw something reflected in the fogged mirror behind her. A red mark on her neck. A mark that wasn't there last night, and not from me. That red mark on her neck burned into my vision long after she walked away. I didn't confront her, not yet. I needed proof, something undeniable, something she couldn't twist into paranoia. So I started paying attention. The first clue came easier than I expected. At 2 a.m., when she thought I was asleep, she slipped out of bed and tiptoed to the living room. I waited a full minute, then followed, silently. She was on the couch, phone pressed to her ear, whispering. Not the tone she used with friends, not laughter or venting. Soft, careful, affectionate. The way she used to talk to me. "I miss you too," she breathed. "Soon, I promise." My knees nearly gave out. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling until she came back, hours later, pretending she'd never left. The next day, opportunity dropped into my lap. Her phone buzzed while she was getting dressed. A preview of a message flashed on the screen before it locked. "Can't stop thinking about last night. Same time today?" My heart stopped. She snatched the phone into her purse, but she had already seen the way my expression changed. "What?" she snapped. I saw the message. She didn't flinch, didn't hesitate. She laughed, actually laughed. "It's my coworker's girlfriend. We're planning a surprise for him. God, you're embarrassing yourself." Her tone wasn't defensive, just irritated, like my pain was an inconvenience. But fate wasn't done yet. That evening, while she was in the shower, she forgot to take her smartwatch off the charger. A notification buzzed across the screen. "Delete our chat. He's getting suspicious." This time there was no mistaking it. Her cheating wasn't a theory anymore. It was fact. Now all I needed was a name, and I was about 10 seconds away from finding it, because the smartwatch had a feature she didn't know I knew how to use: message preview history. And what I saw when I opened it, I scrolled through the smartwatch message history with shaking hands. There were dozens of messages, hundreds, all from the same contact name, A, and every line was a dagger. "I love you. He has no idea. Can't wait until we don't have to hide anymore." My vision blurred with rage and heartbreak. When she walked out of the shower, towel in her hair, humming like nothing was wrong, I just stared at her. She paused. "What now?" she said, already annoyed. I held up the smartwatch. "I know." Her eyes narrowed, not with guilt, but calculation. She didn't panic. She didn't apologize. She smirked. "You went through my private messages," she said, slowly, like talking to a child. "You're cheating on me." My voice cracked. She crossed her arms, leaning against the wall like she enjoyed the moment. "You're unbelievable. Those messages are made up. You know how smartwatches glitch. A glitch didn't write love messages." She rolled her eyes dramatically. "You're delusional. Seriously. You need therapy. You're obsessed with destroying our marriage." "Our marriage?" She said it like I was the threat. When I stepped closer, she didn't step back. She stepped forward, face inches from mine. "Listen carefully," she whispered. "If you accuse me again, if you ever invade my privacy again, I will leave you, and everyone will know you're unstable." It wasn't fear in her voice. It was dominance. She wanted control, wanted me doubting myself, wanted me apologizing for being hurt. And I almost did. I almost caved. But then she slipped. She grabbed her purse to leave, and the smartwatch lit up with a new message. "I'll book the hotel again. Same room, same time." She saw it too. Her eyes widened only for a fraction of a second, but I caught it. She slammed the purse shut and stormed toward the door. "I'm done with this. Don't wait up." The door slammed so hard, the frame rattled. I stood there in the silence, breathing hard, holding the only evidence keeping me from losing my mind, because she nearly had me believing I imagined everything. But this wasn't over. If she thought she could gaslight me into blindness, she didn't know me at all. She said the hotel. Same room, same time. All I had to do now was follow her. I waited exactly 14 minutes after she left. Then I grabbed my keys and drove. I didn't even need the address. The message history had shown the hotel name more than once. A business hotel on the edge of town. Discreet, quiet, the kind people choose when they don't want to be seen. The entire drive, my hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly I could feel my pulse in my fingertips. When I pulled into the parking lot, her car was already there. I sat for a long minute, staring at it, trying to breathe, trying not to scream, trying not to turn around and go home and pretend none of this was happening. But I had to know. I stepped into the lobby and scanned the seating area, the bar, the elevator corridor. No sign of her. At the front desk, a young man smiled politely. "Checking in?" I forced a friendly tone. "Hey, quick question. My wife said she's already here. Room 312, can you give me a key?" He shook his head. "Sorry, sir, we can't." I cut him off with a laugh, leaning on the counter like we were buddies. "No problem. Just wanted to leave a surprise in the room for her." "What name did she check in under, hers or mine?" He hesitated. Just a moment, and that was enough. He looked down at the monitor. "She checked in under her own name with—" He squinted at the screen. "A guest named—" I didn't need to hear the name. I already saw it reflected in his glasses before he said it. A. Carter, the name from the messages. My stomach dropped. I thanked him and walked away before he could finish his sentence. I headed up the stairs. Elevators felt too slow. On the third floor, I walked the hallway like a ghost, room numbers drifting past me. 310, 311. Her voice hit me first, muffled through the door. A light laugh, the kind she hadn't used with me in months. Then a man's voice, confident, relaxed. Their voices together. I pressed my forehead to the door. She said words that stabbed straight through my ribs. "I told you, he has no idea. He's so easy to handle." The man laughed. "You're really going to leave him?" She answered without hesitation. "Of course I will. I'll take everything and walk away. He'll blame himself." I didn't remember pulling my hand back or shaping it into a fist, but in the next heartbeat, I was pounding on the door. The voices inside went dead silent, then footsteps, then the handle turning. The door swung open, and everything I thought I knew about this betrayal shattered instantly. The door opened and the world stopped. My wife stood there, hair undone, robe loosely tied, caught beyond denial. But that wasn't the shock. Standing behind her, buttoning his shirt, calm as stone, was my best friend. Not a coworker, not a stranger, someone I trusted more than family, someone who sat at my wedding, someone who watched me love her for 8 years and still took her anyway. For a moment, none of us spoke. Then he smirked like he was the winner. My wife didn't flinch. She crossed her arms and said, with a bored tone, "Well, now you know." Like it was nothing. Like she hadn't just detonated my life. "Why?" was all I could breathe out. She tilted her head. "Can we not do the dramatic victim thing? I was unhappy. You weren't enough. I found someone better. End of story." My best friend stepped beside her, arms folded, like he'd been waiting years for this. "You should leave," he said. "We're in the middle of something." They wanted me to break. They wanted me to be small, hurt, pathetic. Instead, something inside me snapped into another shape entirely. "You're leaving me?" she repeated mockingly. "Really? With what? You can't afford the house. You can't live without me." "I wasn't talking to you," I said, and watched her expression shift for the first time. I looked at him. "You're not just sleeping with her," I said quietly. "You're in love with her. You think she'll stick around when she's taken everything from me? You think she won't do the same to you?" A flash of doubt, tiny but real, hit his eyes. She saw it, and she hated it. She snapped at me like a cornered animal. "Get out, now, or I call security and tell them you're harassing us." And in that moment, I finally understood. She wasn't trying to leave me. She was trying to destroy me. Emotionally, financially, publicly. The hotel room wasn't the betrayal, it was the trap. So I stepped back, not because she told me to, but because suddenly I wasn't losing anymore. I had seen everything. I had heard everything. And most importantly, I had recorded everything. The smartwatch on my wrist had synced automatically the moment I entered the hotel Wi-Fi. Every message, every voice note, even the conversation through the door. They didn't know it yet, but this wasn't the end of my life. It was the end of theirs. I turned to leave, and my wife laughed one last dagger into my spine. "You'll crawl back. You always do." I didn't look at her when I answered. Not this time. I walked out of that hotel room shaking, but not broken. Every instinct in me wanted to scream, punch walls, collapse in the hallway, but I didn't, because for the first time in months, maybe years, I was thinking clearly. By the time I reached the parking lot, I'd already called a lawyer. I didn't tell him the whole story, just the information that mattered in court, recordings, messages, hotel check-ins, and the fact that she was planning to drain our accounts and abandon the marriage. His voice was calm, confident. "Do not confront them again. Do not warn her. Let us handle everything." That night, I didn't go home. I went to my brother's place. I sat on his couch and replayed the voice recordings again and again, not because I needed proof anymore, but because I needed to kill the part of me that still loved her. By morning, the legal wheels were already in motion. My lawyer froze our shared assets, filed for divorce on grounds of adultery, filed an emergency injunction preventing her from accessing my accounts or property until settlement. It happened faster than I imagined. At 1:14 p.m., she called me. I didn't answer. Then she texted, "Why can't I access the bank account? What did you do?" I didn't respond. An hour later, she was pounding on my brother's door, screaming loud enough for the neighbors to stare. "You think you're a hero? You think this changes anything? You can't prove anything." My brother told her to leave. She refused. So I opened the door. Not for her, but so she could see what I was holding. My phone, the recordings, the messages. Her face changed instantly. Icy confidence melted into horror. "You're not going to ruin my life with this. You already ruined it yourself," I said. She grabbed my arm, nails digging into my skin. "You're nothing without me. I made you." I pulled my arm away. "No, you broke me, but you won't get to own what's left." She didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She didn't beg. She glared like she still believed she could win. "You'll regret this," she whispered. But the thing about threats is, they only work if the person still cares. And for the first time, I didn't. The divorce took 3 months. 3 months of silence, tactics, and lawyers. 3 months of her trying every angle. Denial, rage, threats, fake apologies, even pretending she wanted to fix our marriage once her financial leverage was gone. But I didn't engage, not once. The evidence spoke louder than I ever could. When the settlement was finalized, she got nothing she tried to take from me. The house stayed mine. My account stayed untouched. And legally, she walked away with exactly what she walked in with. Not a victory fueled by revenge, a victory fueled by finally choosing myself. But the part I didn't expect came later. One evening, weeks after it was all over, I drove past that same hotel. Not intentional, just a coincidence. And somehow seeing it didn't hurt anymore. It didn't trigger memories. It didn't make my stomach twist. It didn't remind me of what I lost. It reminded me of what I escaped. I pulled over, sat there watching the neon sign flicker, and realized I could breathe, really breathe, for the first time in a long time. I was no longer living in suspicion, no longer shrinking myself to keep someone else happy, no longer apologizing for being betrayed. Everything she said I couldn't do without her, I was already doing. I started rebuilding. New routines, new friendships, a new sense of self. And for once, I wasn't waiting for laughter from someone else to feel happy. I was learning to feel it on my own. People always say heartbreak hardens you, but that wasn't true for me. It didn't harden me. It clarified me. I learned that love without honesty is poison, that loyalty without respect is slavery, and that losing someone who would rather destroy you than love you isn't a loss, it's freedom. Before I drove away from the hotel, I whispered something, not to her, not to him, but to myself. Never again. Not never again to love, but never again to abandoning myself for someone who wouldn't even protect my heart. And for the first time, the story of my life wasn't about her anymore. It was about me.